Yeah, we do have some topics, believe it or not.
Ooh.
I know that when you see my face, you don't see order and you don't see, structure. But I want to show you another side of Doughy, all right?
We need to come up with a jingle, It's topic time. It's the topic. Just something like right before we start getting into the topics.
What was Andy? He wanted to go home every day. He wanted that song. What's it called?
Closing time.
Closing time.
He wanted a sing along. He didn't even want.
Yeah. So we had some releases today. We had some information put out there. Capcom had their showcase and Konami had their showcase. And Konami, it looks like they're going all out Silent Hill. It looks like they put their entire ball sack in the pussy. They tucked their balls in the Silent Hill pussy, the nurse pussy, to be more. Those nurses were kind of hot.
Y'all remember how we were discussing why does the audio keep getting pulled from our shorts on TikTok?
I think it's that. I think putting the balls in the pussy is a good candidate to get removed from TikTok. So.
And then it seems like they have Silent Hill 2, Silent Hill F, a TV show, and then it's something else. It seems like they have more than just the Silent Hill 2 game coming out.
Is there a TV show? I thought there's a movie sequel, right?
Something like that is going on. But they're like all money into Silent Hill. If only they could do that, Metal Gear Solid.
They probably will. Yeah, honestly,
Go ahead, Matthew. Sorry.
We'll probably get that next year or something. That seems to be about like the way that things are going. Like we've talked about the remake hell we're in right now, but I got to tell you that Silent Hill 2 remake does look really damn good. I only played that game like once, maybe. I know I watched my brother play it, but I don't have the story in my head. I just have like the environment and like the memories of that. I'd be down to play that. It looks like good spooky stuff.
It is stellar. And like, it's crazy because when you're playing the PlayStation 2 version, they have like this mist, but the mist was only there so that you like the field of view, I guess, the depth of field. They couldn't put it out there. You couldn't see the whole town. Mm-hmm. So they used this mist to like block everything, and it ended up working for them, and it created an aesthetic that now I think they can go further with. I think that is going to be a big part of it. I'm so happy that they're going into the Silent Hill. I love everything Silent Hill. The Silent Hill movie.
The models look good. The facial animations are closer to being good than they are to goofy. We're not 100% on our facial capture technology yet. Like there's still some wonkiness there.
So what I did notice is that they're using Unreal Engine 5, if I'm not correct. They're using like the new Unreal Engine, and that Unreal Engine, I don't know if you noticed, they released some stuff last year about the facial animations that Unreal is going to have, and they're doing like cutting edge technology with facial animations. I think this game is going to use it. Because I was like, oh, these expressions are like, this nigga's going through hell. And it's like, I was like, all right, this is like, I'm feeling something from this.
Yeah, you could, in the trailer, you could see like the flap of like, this part of his cheek or whatever while he was like screaming. And I was like, that looks better than most things I've seen. So I was like, I was pretty impressed. Like the only games I could think of that have like better facial like animations than that, I'm thinking like Uncharted 4, the Last of Us Part 2. Like those games have as close to reality as I've seen.
What is that game called? Senua's Revenge, Hellblade or whatever?
Yes.
That one was fantastic and had great facial animations.
Yes. That one got me a lot. Like when I was like, wow, this is like almost too good. You remember back in the day when we used to play Blizzard games and their cinematics were just like top notch, and you were just like, oh, this looks real. It feels like that again. Yeah. I got that excitement. I was like, ooh, this looks surreal. Like they're blending the line between CGI and like actual human interactions. I thought that was really cool when I saw that. Pyramid Head looks fucking crazy.
Yeah, he looked
Yeah,
great.
Mateo noticed he has like this one side of his pyramid is like a soft, like a cloth surface, and it has like a
A
what's
spigot.
yeah, I don't think a spigot's the right word, but whatever the fucking thing is for like filling your tire or
Yeah,
whatever,
like
the little thing you plug your pump
valve.
into.
What
A
is the
valve.
is that the word for it?
I'm gonna
Yeah.
call it a valve. Yeah, there's like a little valve there. Like if first we were speculating maybe he fills his pyramid up with oxygen, but maybe the pyramid's connected to his ass and he needs to air the gas out, and that's
Yep.
what the valve is there for. When the
Also-
pressure builds too much in there, it farts out.
Does
He
that make
could
him?
be-
Does that make him less scary? Because you can just smell him coming, or you hear the little valve. It's like Darth Vader. You hear that like that sound before he ever appears.
Yep. For
Maybe he's like, maybe it's the thing from Dune where he's like pissing and shitting into his like pyramid head, and he's like eating it and then like shitting and coming back up again.
Yeah, I forgot the name of those suits from Dune. Oh
Does-
my god, I love those suits.
Is Pyramid Head wearing a mask? Is that like a thing that he? Does he have a human face under there, or is he just like?
I thought it was a metal tub. I thought it would put like a tub on his head or some shit like that.
Don't know.
I've never played Silent Hill 2, so I booted it up a couple months ago, played like an hour. It just didn't click for me.
You needed to have me there.
Some people on Twitter were like, "This is not the best Silent Hill, the greatest game ever made." I was like,
Damn.
that's a high bar." So I was like, "Let me give it a shot." Didn't deliver for me.
Yeah,
Personally, but I'm not into horror, so
I
so
will.
I'm not
I will say the aesthetic, like Doughy said, is iconic. Like the aesthetic of Silent Hill is so damn cool.
Atmosphere. Atmosphere. If you get the atmosphere down, then a lot of the other parts of the game fall through, and it's like, okay, it makes sense. Another game that has good facial animations that I'm playing now is the Last of Us remake for the first one. Very impressed. Facial animations going crazy in that game. I'm in Billstown.
This Silent Hill F looks interesting.
Yeah.
Did y'all watch the trailer for that one? It
No, I
looks
did not.
very odd, and apparently it's set in 1960s Japan.
Awesome.
And it
Even better.
the creature design kind of gives me like Last of Us vibes. Honestly, I don't know if you've seen it, but it's like this. One of the trailer parts has like just this person covered in like fungus, basically like this like very vibrant, like colorful fungus.
Awesome.
Curious to see what they're going to do with that one.
You
Is
remember
there-
the fungus in the Mario movie? That was weird.
I love that. I still hold that the Mario movie is a good movie. Okay, unpopular opinion. I loved this movie as a kid, and I watched it not that long ago. Not as bad as we all remember. I'll say. Okay, the fungus helps. Those boots are still fire. Not a good replacement for the fact that Mario and Luigi jump high. Their answer to them jumping high was having these like fucking Koopa rocket boots or some shit like that.
Yep. Yeah, they have the jump boots.
But
I wanted a pair of those jump boots as a kid.
Yeah, I wanted it so fucking bad. Those guns they had, fire. I think that's supposed to be like the fire flower. Those like
so.
bazooka guns they had, and yeah, the scene where they like go into the locker room and finally put on like their iconic jumpsuits, like, and then they like strike a pose, and you got Mario and Luigi with the red and blue and the green and blue. Fire. I still love the scene.
Yeah.
It's good, and they pick good people. I don't think Bob Hoskins or John Leguizamo. Well, John Leguizamo was like Colombian. I don't know if Bob Hoskins is Italian or not.
I don't believe he is.
I don't
I
think they're Italian.
But he looked like Mario.
But it worked. I believed it. I didn't believe they were brothers, but I believed that they were who they said they were. You know what I'm saying? I like they doubled down on the Mario, Luigi, Mario. I was like, it's ridiculous.
It was so ridiculous. It was one of my favorite parts. Is like the Mario, Luigi, Mario thing, and they did not look like brothers. Maybe an uncle and a nephew that are closer in age than you would expect.
The father and son, dude. John Leguizamo looked like he just turned like 19, and Bob Hoskins looked like he went through his third divorce already. Like it was an age disparity for these guys to be brothers. But
He was young
Facts.
in that one. So Resident Evil 4 though is the other one that's got us stoked,
Whoa.
right?
I like what I saw. It looks like I'm happy that it looks like it's based in video game world. I don't want realism in my Resident Evil games, okay? I want to be able to kick the shit out of these zombies and they go flying and I'm like, yes.
I don't think they're zombies. Is this the Ouroboros or the? No, they're not. Ouroboros is Resident Evil 5. This is like Las Plagas. That's
Las
what it is.
Plagas.
I never
hated this.
I never played this one. I watched my brother play like the first bits of this one on GameCube or something, I want to say.
Yeah, it's on GameCube.
But
It
I
even
never
runs
played this
better
one.
on GameCube.
Really?
Yeah, better than the PS2.
Huh. That's interesting.
Yeah, I think the I think graphically the GameCube wasn't as strong as the other consoles, but they were able to pump out better performance because of it. A lot of the games are consistently 60 FPS, like back in that era, and I thought that was dope. Yeah, so what I wanted to say earlier, I'm hyped that Konami is doing something. I know I'm kind of transitioning back to Silent Hill real quick. I'm hyped that Konami is doing something.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the list of games that they've like released, and not only have they, it looks like they haven't released anything this year, but like all they have are like DDR, like all these like rhythm games that I couldn't give a fuck about, and then like a Yu-Gi-Oh card game, and then just like re-releases. I could see like the Castlevania collection, the Contra collection, arcade classics. They re-released Zone of the Enders, but even that, the re-release of Zone of the Enders, that was 2018. It was 4 years ago.
Oh,
Damn.
wow.
So like, it's good to see that they're making a game. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like anything.
Instead
And
of
it
just
gives me
pachinko
hope.
machines.
Instead
Yeah.
of just pachinko machines.
Fucking
And it gives me
pachinko.
hope. It gives me hope that maybe they're putting some eggs back into the gaming basket, because like there was a time, man, where seeing even back in the in the 90s, seeing that Konami, that like diagonal thing come down, there's like that neon looking sign, seeing that logo came up, I knew I was going to be playing a good game,
Right?
like that, like and I don't know, it bums me out that like those guys that produced all that quality stuff just don't anymore.
Yep.
I'm really hoping they continue their trend of packaging up anniversary collections and things like that. I really want them to remake the first Metal Gear games, the two that came out in the MSX that are just like pixel graphics. I feel like even without Kojima, which I'm still very miffed about the fact that he wouldn't be involved in this stuff. I still want at least that. Remake those games. There's a good story to tell. Get it out of like this old 2D 1987 computer graphic, environment or whatever. Give it some voice acting, some mocap, some ridiculousness. I feel like they could pull it off.
You just want to see them fight in the minefield.
I want to see Solid Snake fight Gray Fox on a minefield. Like, how epic is that? Like,
Yeah.
this is the cool stuff. All those old Metal Gears, right? They grabbed a lot of the best snippets and then like almost like remixed it into like later games and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like the fact that you fight a Metal Gear and then after you defeat the Metal Gear, you then gotta fist fight the guy that was piloting the Metal Gear. It's like that's like Metal Gear Solid 1, right? You defeat Metal Gear, then you gotta fight Liquid on the top of Metal Gear. It's like, yeah, you oh, I'm lying. This was a Metal Gear 2. I don't know why I said Metal Gear 1. Yeah, Metal Gear 2, you destroy the Metal Gear and then Gray Fox gets out and then they fist fight on the minefield. It's like, I just want to see that in 3D graphics with mocap and, the whole kind of insane art direction that Konami went for. I feel like seeing that like George Lucas, right? Like, if there was a time if you were like, you're gonna make Star Wars without George Lucas, I would have said unbelievable. I would not accept it. Then watching the abomination of what the prequels were, I was like, maybe he wasn't what the magic of Star Wars was. He may be the genius behind it, but maybe he isn't the essence of that magic. We saw the same thing with Keiji Inafune, right? He left Capcom and then he made that Mighty Number 9 bullshit, and I was like, oh, this is gonna be cool. The Mega Man guy is gonna make Mega Man. what a shit show of a game. I'm like, maybe he wasn't the magic behind the Mega Man games. Like, he might be the mastermind, the genius behind it, but you need all the other people. I'm hoping it's a similar thing. Like, maybe Kojima comes with the big ideas, but the guys at Konami are really the ones delivering. So maybe they could pull off a remake without him.
We had this conversation once. Didn't you say that a lot of the directors had producers that kind of kept them in line, and without those producers, the directors wouldn't really have like good games?
Yeah. Like George Lucas's wife was heavily involved with the first trilogy.
Yep.
She's the I think she edited those movies, and she was a producer on those movies. And George Lucas didn't have full creative control over those movies. And they made 3 incredible movies. And then when they came out with the prequel trilogy, he was like God Emperor of everything. And to me, those movies are an abomination. So it feels like you still need that creative genius that is George Lucas, but you don't need him to have full control. Even Metal Gear 5, right? I have a lot of gripes with Metal Gear 5. We don't even know the full story about what happened there, but like it could be that Kojima had way more control while making that game, and maybe that's why the game didn't hit on some of those cylinders we were looking for.
Yep.
Still, to me, like a 10 out of 10. Gameplay, top notch, nothing wrong with it, but it's not a Metal Gear game to me. It's just not. I don't care what anybody tells me. And it's like, maybe you need those people that were reining Kojima in to produce what we think of as a Metal Gear game.
Well, I mean,
and I'm hoping those people are still at Konami and they could still pull something like that
There's
off.
some series that like they seem to get better when they like lean into like the ridiculousness and like the goofy nature of like their story, right? Like the Resident Evil games, they seem like they've gotten better and better as they've gotten further and further away from like the Resident Evil 1 like story, right?
Yeah.
It's I don't even know how Resident Evil's gotten to the point where it is now. I don't care anymore. I like hearing Doughy talk about it because it's insane nonsense bullshit, but it seems entertaining as hell. And the gameplay has definitely gotten better, right? And maybe Metal Gear did the opposite. As the stories got more batshit insane, I actually kind of lost interest in Metal Gear a little bit. I wanted the story to make a little bit more sense.
Yep, I there's things I love in every single Metal Gear, but there are things that I don't in every single Metal Gear, save for maybe the first game. I just loved the first game through and through on the PlayStation 1. Every game after that, there were like weird decisions. Like the Raiden choice, I still to this day, I'm just like, I don't need it. Like in retrospect, it's probably not that bad, but still not my favorite. Metal Gear Solid 3, probably probably the best game in the series. The bosses are trash. Like Metal Gear has iconic bosses. The bosses of Metal Gear 3 trash.
I mean,
like
the boss fight
is
was
cool.
not bad.
No. The boss fight is fire, and then the end, very unique. Still not one of my. It's very cool how they did that fight, like across all these different maps, and you're in an active fight, but it doesn't feel like you are because it's quiet and you're sneaking around, and you know you're playing like this game of cat and mouse with like 2 snipers, or very interesting situation. It still doesn't grasp like the cartoonish villains that you're looking for out of, like, if you go through that boss list in Metal Gear 1, it's just so good. It's like straight out of an 80s like action flick, and I was like, that's what I need from Metal Gear games, and they just never delivered on that post the first game.
Which one are we considering Metal Gear Solid 3? Is that Snake Eater?
Yeah,
Snake Eater.
I was going to say, except for the boss fight, Snake Eater might be my favorite because I love all the other gameplay aspects of it. But yeah, the boss fights are weak. They're definitely weaker than the other games.
Yeah, it's like the pain, he controls like wasps. The fear, he fucking does weird shit with his body. He's a contortionist. Then there's the Fury. He's a guy in a spacesuit using a flamethrower. It's like
You remember how slow the PS3 went when I tried to replay the pain? Oh no!
Oh my god! Sorry, I muted by accident. Yeah, the console chugs. It chugs like it's literally slow motion. The FPS drops to like 10 or something. It's absurd. It's very low.
I'm happy.
Sorry, I'm hitting a major deviation. I'm just happy Konami's making a game. Silent Hill looked good. Never been a Silent Hill fan, so I'm not really excited. I'm excited to watch Doughy play this game. and that's gonna be fun for me.
I'm excited to have a chance to try this game on the modern gen with modern graphics. Like, I'm sure that the old one honestly still holds up for people that enjoy those types of games. This one looks like the controls are going to be a little bit more modernized. There's going to be some quality of life improvements, and I'm on board for that because the games were hard back in the 90s and the early 2000s. Games were just hard because we didn't have gameplay aspects figured out to the extent that we do now. So it'll be nice to get that. Resident Evil 4 looks cool. I don't know why that man had to burn that cow up in the trailer, but you know what?
I like
Shout out Peter.
Y'all know my stance. Just like, I don't give a fuck about animals. So the cow had to go. He was trying to kill them villagers. You know what I'm saying? My concern with the Resident Evil remake is I'm afraid they're going to be too faithful. Because watching this trailer, they're adding a little snippets. Like he in the game, he was on the radio talking to somebody. You didn't really see who. Now you see who he's talking. It's like some woman, and they're like chatting or whatever. And I don't remember. I vaguely remember Ashley getting infected. But I don't remember it looking like that. So maybe they're gonna change some things, but it looks a little bit too close to the original. And to be honest, I feel like the first half of Resident Evil 4 is better than the second half. Like,
no. So like Resident Evil 4 had an issue. Resident Evil 4 had an issue. It had a first act, a second act where the game should have ended. And then the third act is like, we're going to go to an island. Like, it's like a whole other part of the game. So I feel like Resident Evil 4 was like a long game. So what I'm worried about is the Resident Evil 3 remake. They botched that. Not as good as I feel like it was hard grounds to gain. Resident Evil 3 always kind of was decisively like, nobody could really call it bad, but nobody could really call it good. It was just like, okay.
Well, it was a big change to the series, right? Like, it was more action based than the previous ones,
way
right?
more actions. Think of Aliens, vice versa, Alien.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, the Resident Evil 3 did a lot of cool stuff, like Nemesis chasing you around, the decision making, that like action button that lets you like dodge. Or roll, like in certain instances. Very fucking cool for its time, and very difficult for a 9-year-old pooch. I had a very difficult time playing Resident Evil 3 as a kid. But yeah, what it did well, it did really fucking well, and then what it didn't do well, it didn't do well at all. And I think for what it's worth, the Resident Evil 3 remake, I didn't play it. I watched Jesus play a bit of it. Didn't look very great. I like that they remade the essence of the game without being crazy faithful. Like, I don't want a faithful recreation of the game. Like, that exists already. I want you to remake it in a new way. Like, I loved Final Fantasy VII Remake. They kept a lot of the elements that we love about Final Fantasy VII, and they added so much content in between, so much character development for characters that just had like 2 blurbs of text. And they ended the game in such a way that the next 2 games in the series probably aren't going to be very close to the rest of Final Fantasy VII. That's going to be fun.
I'm all in on this love triangle now. But not even a love triangle, it's a love square now. We got Team Tifa, we got Team Aerith, and we've got Team Jesse.
And Zach is up in that shit. You know, Zach and Aerith was all, a thing. And the love situation is crazy. I'm Team Jesse now, all right?
All day.
I didn't think I'd be. I'm all day Team Jesse, all right? But yeah, the trailer for Resident Evil 2 looked very promising. It looked fun. It looked the way that I remembered the game. And I guess that's good for a 20-year-old game. Like, it looks the way that I remember it. Obviously, the game didn't look this way.
yeah.
And
And I like the twist they put on Resident Evil 2 where Mr. X is following you around
oh my
the
god,
building.
sorry. I said Resident Evil 2. I meant Resident Evil 4.
I thought you said...
I was talking about...
I thought you were saying 2 like TOO.
Oh.
No. I said the number 2. I meant the number 4. I also like Resident Evil 2. I didn't like Mr. X. Fuck Mr. X. Yeah, Resident Evil 4, I'm looking at the trailer. It looks the way that I remember Resident Evil 4 for a 20-year-old game or whatever.
I've never seen a video game make Pucho more uncomfortable. I remember Pucho was like, yo, you mind watching this with me? Because this game is kind of like, it's giving me too much anxiety.
Oh, it's triggering your anxiety.
Yeah.
Because you get to a point in the game where I was just enjoying the game. You're like going through the police station. You're picking items up. You know, the Resident Evil thing, fighting zombies, all that bullshit. Then there comes a point to introduce this character, Mr. X. Well, he's like the Incredible Hulk. He's running around or walking really fast, like, you know, trying to find you constantly. And you could get away from this guy. His AI is set up in such a way where he's kind of always going to go where you are. And so any room you go to, like, the gameplay is like, go in, scour the area, look at what clues, pick up items, pick up key items. Maybe they help you with puzzles in another place. But
now,
this motherfucker will come in at any time and just like, you hear his footsteps and it's just like, this sucks. I don't even know what door he's gonna bust into. You're like looking. I don't like it. It was like, it's adding like a level of, it made the rest of the game uncomfortable for me. I just didn't like it.
That game needs a Kool-Aid Man mod where instead of using the door, he just busts through the walls, leaves like a little like Mr. X shaped like hole in the wall.
He busts through a few walls. I'm not gonna lie. The game gets good again as soon as Mr. X gets cut in half. They cut him in half and he dies, and I'm like, perfect. He won't. And then they get rid of the mechanic, and the game gets good again for me. But that period where, like, you explore like 60% of the police station up to when he dies, like that gap where he's walking around, it sucks. I don't enjoy it at all. and I realized there's a couple rooms that he won't go into. You can literally aggro him and he'll like stomp towards the door and he just can't get in. So like figuring that out made the game better, but I couldn't deal with being chased constantly. I couldn't deal with, like, It Follows, that movie we were talking about. I couldn't deal with that. Getting constantly chased by some fucking monsters, it ain't gonna do it for me.
Man, that gives me some context for our conversation on that one.
Yeah. So hopefully they change it in a good way, because I don't even think you remember. You remember on the island they introduced zombies with guns.
Zombies with guns. They had. First, they just had tools like shovels, axes. Then they were like throwing things at you, like scythes and just weird shit they would throw at you.
Asymmetrical warfare.
Then you get to this island and there's a zombie with a Gatling gun. Just straight Rambo. He's going Rambo on your ass, and it's like, this sucks. And they're strapped with like all these bullets. They just look like military dudes. Then you got motherfuckers with like dynamite throwing grenades at you, and it's just like, what is going on here?
There was this Sega CD game that my brother used to play called Corpse Killer, and I swear that game also had zombies with guns in it. It was just like very much like Area 51 style, like that kind of like shooter, but with like full motion nonsense.
Yeah, I'm not against zombies with guns. It feels weird. It came out of left field in Resident Evil. It was very unexpected.
I might be against zombies with guns. Zombies are scary enough without guns. Why do you got to add guns? Feels like it makes them less scary in my mind, actually.
Guns can make them less scary for sure, but a zombie with a gun reminds me of what is I Am Legend, all right? Where the whole world turns into actually they're vampires, by the way, but they just look like weird monsters in the movie. I like the idea. I mean, I feel like we discussed this on the pod. Spoilers for I Am Legend, all right? If you don't want to get spoiled by some book that came out like in the 70s or whatever. I think it's so interesting that like there's like this mutation, that virus, all these humans turn into vampires. There's some number of humans in the world that are immune to this, so they like haven't turned. And this guy is like in this town and he's just like chopping up these zombies left and right, trying to find the cure. But at the end of the book, they label him a legend. Like to the vampires, you find out the vampires are intelligent, they have a society, they have a language, and all this stuff, and he is like the boogeyman to them. He's like a myth, right? Maybe this leads into our next topic. He's like an urban legend or something to the families of these vampires. He's he's the guy who comes in the middle of the night and snatches you up and chops you up and all this stuff.
I did not think about it like that.
And it's horrifying to them.
The movie changed it. The movie had a different ending, but yeah, in the book, that's the ending to that story.
And the way they frame it is like, look, humans have evolved. We're the next evolutionary stage. You're the equivalent of a Neanderthal trying to bring the human race back. You know what I'm saying? We're vampires now. Like, that's what we are. You're still a human. Like, get the fuck out of here, kind of thing. And like, that's how they basically, and they kill that guy. They should rip him to shreds. That's how the book ends. But
wait, what's this book's name again?
I Am Legend.
It's
the movie with Will Smith.
Really? This shit didn't happen in the movie.
No, they changed it completely.
In the movie? This fucking dog, my dog. I love my dog.
When this dog dies, is a big deal.
There's an alternate ending to the movie that they shot. Like you can watch it on YouTube, and it's a little bit close to the book, but it's still not completely like the book ending.
Yeah.
Damn.
But anyways, the relevance of all of this is maybe zombies are the next evolutionary stage of the human race, and they're just using guns. And I like the idea that they're fighting back against, the human race. And eventually you'll have a couple, what was the guy's name? Robert Neville, I want to say, something like that. Robert something. And then maybe you have a couple legends. Maybe Leon Kennedy survives this whole ordeal, and he's killing vast swaths of these zombies, and he's just a urban legend or a myth. What the scary story you tell your kids before you put them to sleep.
He's a terrorist in the zombie world. They're on the zombie news, like another terrorist attack by.
Real quick, Doom Eternal explores on that. The Doom guy is like a god, and everybody kind of knows him, and they're kind of talking to him. Everybody's super shook when they're talking to him
because they're scared of him.
Yeah, because he's like a myth. He's like a legend. He's the demon killer. So I thought Doom Eternal kind of worked on that in a good way.
Yeah, and the 2016 Doom game, there's stuff you could read. It's like the history of the demons, I guess. I don't know what they are. And yeah, they discuss that. They call him the Doom Slayer. Because the Doom guy doesn't have a name. I like to think it's like a child of BJ Blazkowicz from Wolfenstein. That's my theory.
I think that they've made references to it being like one of his descendants or something. I feel like they've made references to it, but I'm not positive.
Yeah, that's my headcanon. I have no idea. I'm not even a big fan of all those. Who the fuck made those games?
I don't remember. id Software or something.
id Software. Yeah. John Carmack and them. Yeah, I'm not even a big fan of all those games. I've never played Wolfenstein until like the new ones that came out. The new ones
are good.
And I played Doom 1 when I was a kid, and then Doom 2016. Like that's my Doom lineage. Like, but in my head, that's what I got in my mind. It's like he's a descendant of BJ Blazkowicz. And yeah, and to parrot Doughy's point, I love the way that in those like texts that you find, the way that the demons talk about the main character, it made you feel more like a badass, even though you've already proven to be a badass because you've literally killed like 1 million of these demons at this point. But
yeah, you're killing like 3 demons per second or something.
Facts.